Welcome to the Bandwagon Podcast, and today is a jump off edition. So, for those people who are wondering what the hell is a jump off edition, jump off is a space where I go through some of the topical issues and give my opinions on a few stories. Because sometimes when I'm doing the podcast, I'm obviously interviewing the guest, and sometimes I really want to give my opinion in there as well. So this is the space for me to do that with you guys. So the last jump off edition, I think I done about 3 months ago. So I think it's well overdue. But this time, what I did was on my Instagram, I have asked the question. So I put it on my Instagram. Is like, is there any topics that people want to discuss, have a conversation, and get my opinion on? So what I've done, I got my phone here, and I'm just gonna go in kind of a random order, really, on what was the topic, and then I'll give you a few sound bites off it. So right, I'm gonna start it off now. So let me just open this up, and the first question was Punjabi rap songs versus Punjabi Bhangra. Oh, interesting. I mean, to be fair, it's a kind of old school versus new school kind of question, really, isn't it? I think my heart's always going to be towards the Punjabi Bhangra, and if you think about it, a lot of the songs will always go back to to that in its roots. The rap songs, are obviously spearheaded by Sidhu and Karan recently. But there has been a change in a lot of the kind of style of these rap songs. They've gone more kind of lovey-dovey and moving away from guns and gangster rap, I would suppose. But for me, I'm a diehard kind of Punjabi Bhangra, but I don't mind the rap songs as well. If it's been executed right, then yeah, I think they're good. I mean, look at artists like Shub. He's coming over in the UK shortly. And he's absolutely murdering some of those figures in terms of numbers wise is unbelievable. So if you dismiss it or you kind of belittle it, I think you're gonna lose that battle, mate. I really do. Next question. Prince of Wales Mayfield. So this is a pub in the West Brom area, who is very kind of musically orientated, depending on what time of the night you go. I've spent many a time there with I will say unnamed mates and artists who have just have a good little laugh in there. So yeah, wonderful, always really good. If you've got musical friends, keep them in the loop, and always go down there for a bit of practice if you want, but obviously with the owner's permission, who you don't want to get on the wrong side of, by the way, as well. Next one. Different types of doll and sticks. Why people using plastic dillies? I think this is probably one that's trying to get me into trouble. But from my little experience, there are different types of doll out there. It comes from different types of trees. So you do have ambala doll or daliala doll, and that is down to kind of the weight that's in there. And I do believe, depending, some of the woods actually make the sound of the doll a little bit louder. But this, in terms of like plastic dillies, I knew people using plastic skins on the bayside. I don't like them, to be fair. It's just the personal kind of preference. But plastic dillies, I think the doll game has evolved. I think just like with any other kind of musical instruments, if you stay in the past, you could be a hardcore traditionalist, but I'm not sure whether this is actually this sounds like a bit of a first world problem, to be honest. But yeah, I'll leave it as that. Influencers misleading people about the skinny jab or other health related issues. Now, yes, this skinny jab, became very familiar with this, as obviously I'm not the let's say the peak of physical athlete that I could be, but the skinny jab is like kind of related to weight capsules and actual injections around weight loss drive. So it's actually suppressing your appetite. But we've got to be really honest here. If somebody's selling you kind of a quick fix on generally anything, you could almost take it to the bank that it ain't gonna work. If you're, let's say, of the larger build, and you ain't going to the gym or watching your food, you could jab anything up your ass. It's not going to make any difference. You really, really need to do the exercise, the food management, because it's all about a complete lifestyle change. And in fact, I think there is a study that if parents, for example, are more healthily inclined, the children will follow that way, and especially mothers, which came out of that study as well. So get your quick fixes, diet pills, skinny jabs. You could do what you like, and if you're an influencer kind of promoting that, you got to be really careful, because when you do put the weight on, they're going to see it on your stories as well at the same time, with or without your filters. Frenzy Bakrah tune. Yeah, so this is Desi Frenzy has actually come out with a new demo tape, and one of the tunes within there is around it's called Bakrah, and it's written by GS Name Prindia, one of my mates. Really interesting topic, to be fair. In there it's about how if you know the story around Mirza and Seba, it's a old folk tale, or where you could, the story is kind of relevant in some places now. I'll let you kind of look at the story yourselves and research it yourselves. But there's a very interesting take on it, and it has a little bit of spin in there in terms of kind of grooming as well. And you know, I was actually thinking about it, and I've had the conversation with my kids around, risk of people online grooming, looking about kind of faith, looking at heritage, looking at kind of general values and things like that. And it's not easy when you got kids to have these kind of conversations, and there's no manual, to say this is the right or wrong way of doing it. But it's very, it's kind of topical at this point in people's lives, whether they have to consider it, especially if they've got children going up to secondary school in the forthcoming years as well, because that's when there's trust out there, and it's very hard. It's there's no easy way of doing it, but yeah, that it's a good tune, great tune. I would recommend you guys to take a listen to it. Next question. Bunday you don't speak to asking for DJs discounts, but leave the pub on their round. I think that's quite common. When if you're involved in any entertainment business or in a business of its own, if you've got people asking you for discounts, and assume that you're going to give them one, I don't think that's your friend. Like, I don't think that's a healthy relationship. I always remember I had one of my close mates who, when I was doing my drug and alcohol conferences, I was going to give a free ticket to this guy. He really helped me in when I was, speaking and needed advice. And off his own back, he just bought a full ticket for the full price. And I rang him up and I said, how come you paid for the full ticket? I was going to give you one. And he goes, it's not about that, Rick. It's about supporting each other. It's about recognizing the amount of effort that you've put in, and monetary value as well around it, and supporting. So, if somebody is asking you for a discount, I think at the same time, they should also consider your value as well at the same time. And I don't think that happens quite a lot, actually, at this point. I think there is a lot of kind of freebies out there, which I think was one of the questions I'm going to come to a little bit later. But in terms of kind of leaving the pub on their round, I think that says more about them than you. If you're keeping a register of who's buying around everywhere, just get a new hobby, to be fair, because that's their own beastie if they can't do it. You don't know what the circumstances that they're going through, financial issues, whatever. Yeah, that's just kind of a sensible one. But I'm sure if I was due a drink, I'll probably change my mind as well. So yeah, I'm a hypocrite on that bit, but fair enough. Mental health within the Asian community and what to do if you need help. Really good question. I think if we look at mental health in terms as a subject, just my opinion, but through my experience of working through addictions over the years, especially with South Asian communities, talking therapies hasn't been one of the strong points. We're not really encouraged to talk about our feelings. Our sort of grandparents came in, went straight to factories doing their work, and then our own parents or the second generation of that kind of followed suit as well at the same time. And a lot of emotions, a lot of kind of trauma is kind of bottled in at that point. I think now we are encouraged to talk about, it's okay to not be okay. You see a lot of these public campaigns going out there, and I think it's a kind of a very good thing in order to do that. But at the same time, there are also people who exploit vulnerable people where they need help, whether it's via taking money off for consultations or a conversation to point people in the right direction. I think at this point, it's always valuable to know that if you've got a public health service, especially the UK or a local council, they will commission some support services around mental health, around substance misuse, around sexual health, which you don't have to pay for. And I think where people have kind of fallen in is that, especially in South Asian communities, that if there's a problem, let's just throw money at it. It's going to sort itself out. Let's keep throwing money at the problem, and hopefully one day it's gonna fix itself. I don't think it is. So there's a lot of support services out there if you actually search for it correctly. I'm very closely affiliated with Taraqi around the Mixie and Chill movement, the actual podcasters as well. And in Birmingham, they're a fantastic service. And I'm sure even if you needed help, you give them a call and they'll point you in the right direction. So you have the Samaritans out there. You'd have Talk to Frank. You'll have NSPCC, especially for young children. I think it's vitally important that you do that, and you got to also be wary of some of these charities, especially. I don't like saying it, but the upbringing charities, some of them are just. It scares me that they push certain agendas or they push a certain narrative, and they've got no qualifications. If people actually had a look at it and said, how are you collating case notes? Is your staff actually qualified? It's very scary. So finding the right organization is massive. So always kind of get reviews, have a look at it, speak to other people, and do that, because I kind of come back to it as a cake analogy. If you have the right ingredients, it doesn't matter what the toppings are. So if you've got love, trust, honesty, integrity, and you have all of those as the key base, the foundation of that cake, then it doesn't matter what subject you're talking about, be it drugs, alcohol, anything. You've created the right environment to find support. Wedding costs, bloody hell. Okay, yeah. I suppose the summer's over now. It's pissing down with rain outside, so I think that's kind of summarizes the whole of summer. But as you can see, if you're going on Instagram and you're seeing all these decorators and you're seeing all these influencers getting married and the costs involved there, it's absolutely ridiculous. But good luck to you. If that's your way, if you want to show off your wedding and do all of these things and sell it off, that's fine. If that covers your costs, good luck to you. Well done. But you'll always have those people who are worried that they're going to be getting married next year. How are they going to top it off? We do have that bit, keep it up with the Joneses kind of mentality. And I think you got to basically say, you're not getting married for everyone else. You're getting married for you. Just stick to that. Sometimes the simple things are the best things. Russell Brand. Oh, okay. I don't think there's a real right answer at this moment in time. So there's, the allegations that have come out are pretty shocking. And you've seen kind of Russell Brand kind of jumping the gun in terms of giving his opinions. I think what I would say is obviously there's a police investigation going on as well at the same time. And some victims can come straight away. Some people come 30 years down the line. There'll be some false allegations, but I'm guessing within there in terms of some of the information that's coming out. I think at the same time is, I think, as especially with this, the cancel culture it's really difficult for somebody to kind of have, I think, a true opinion on it. And I think you've got to wait for all the facts to come out while investigations are going on. So if people are, there's one around how, oh, this is a way of shutting him up. But if there's crimes committed at the same time, what are you going to do? Just forget about them. So it's a very awkward one in terms of basically saying I know exactly what's happened. But it's very interesting when you look at how certain celebrities are treated compared to other celebrities as well around kind of similar themes at the same time. So I think as people are switching up, are awakening now, I think people can see how there is that differentiation. But I think people are forgetting that there are serious allegations within it. So yeah, just let the investigations continue. Next one, UFOs. Yeah, did anyone see those little aliens that have come out of in Mexico? Um, they got brought out of these little coffins, and they just look like two massive ashtrays. There was I don't you had the body there, and they had like loads of soil and mitti all around it. It didn't make sense. They were about I don't even know, they're about 3 foot high or something like that, but um you are starting to hear a lot more about UFOs and governments admitting that there are unidentified objects flying around in the air that they have no clue about. Um, the conspiracy theorists could turn around and said, "Oh, they're releasing this thing to distract you from mainstream news and blah blah." But you just want to see if there's actual. Imagine if there was one. Imagine if they actually said, "Here it is," and it's walking and talking in front of you. What would you do? I mean, imagine like all these UFOs are going to Florida, or they're all around America. They're saying, oh, because there's army barracks and there's loads of military and army people and trouble people who could kind of combat live in those areas where they're flying over. You won't see any UFOs over Smethwick or Handsworth or even Southall. So until they start diversifying their appearance and actually appearing everywhere else, I won't take it seriously up until that point. But I want to believe, hopefully, it's true. Top Boy, views on Top Boy. I did watch it, and I won't give any spoilers at this point. It was a bit of Games of Thrones, like rushed badly towards the end. I mean, the early seasons that were produced were brilliant. I really enjoyed them. Really gave a real gritty insight in terms of street life, especially around the drug culture. Um, but it also showed you the value of the waste of life as well. How many young people were getting killed through this kind of drug game. Uh, but yeah, I think towards the end, I think, just my opinion, I think the writers kind of didn't know how to kind of finish it and just said, oh, the easiest way to do it is I ain't gonna spoil it. So all I'm gonna say, it was little bit rushed, but still up there as one of my sort of favorite TV series out. Oh god, this one. Influencers fighting. Now, there's been a particular kind of scenario that's been well advertised around a couple of influencers who have been having these online beefs. Um, one was promising another one if they did some promo work and blah de blah. I didn't keep up to it. But the point of the story is this: just don't get involved. If you believe you've got an influence audience, that came overnight and can get taken overnight. If you lose your social media account, your businesses could potentially finish. So don't take it serious. Don't get too bothered. I get it even in the podcast. Like I could interview someone and they haven't even shared their own story, or they don't want to collab, or they don't do this. What are you gonna do? Sit there and cry about it? No, you've got to say, you move on. That's an individual's choice. If they want to do that, then go ahead. But don't expect people in this world to owe you something to do you a favor. If people want to do it, they'll do it. If they don't do it, that's bad on them. But to see how this is spread like wildfire while there's other stuff going on is ridiculous. So hopefully they've managed to resolve these issues. But oh man, it's a bit serious. And I will say I don't know the full story. I've just had a couple of headlines from some people who asked me about, did you hear this? And I was like, no, I really haven't. Alcoholism amongst Asian ladies, how to get help. Like, okay, so it's a bit similar to the mental health question, to be honest. Your local council should commission if especially in the UK, a drug and alcohol service. It's linking in with those organizations who'd be able to tell you where to go. So in Birmingham, there's CGL and Aquarius and a few other sort of organizations around it. In terms of for Asian ladies, they might have different support groups that the charities might run themselves, especially around ethnicity, and they might commission another organization to work with certain communities, especially where alcohol is more prominent. So I would always go there first to find out what the situation is. But there are other charities that you can actually speak to that can provide you support. So Al-Non, the mutual aid supports Alcoholics Anonymous, NA. There's loads of different organizations that can help you, not just with alcohol but drug use as well at the same time. But for specific Asian ladies, it is kind of an organization by organization case to do that. But hopefully, somebody might reach out and say after listening to this that they run something. So and I'm not aware of it. I'm not saying that I'm the kind of oracle and know everything about it. I'll give them a plug as well at the same time. Do a review of best singles, albums, artists in your opinion. I'm actually going to save this question towards the end of the year, where I'm going to do a bit of a review of the past 12 months, I would say, of Bhangra Panjabi music. So I'm going to kind of hold that one. I have done a couple of podcasts where I did go through this. One was with Brit Asia. So I've got to just check out the scheduling and when that's going to come out. So I'm not repeating the same stuff again at the same time. Supporting each other and their ventures. Okay. A little bit similar to what I've said before. I am doing a couple of podcasts with other podcasts already out there. Fairly kind of popular ones, and I've always had that kind of approach that if somebody is doing well, then you should support them. Don't let that jealousy factor sort of kick in. And if you do see somebody doing well, then actually taking the time out and telling them that they're doing well, it really can make a difference. It could swing fortunes for yourself as well. I always believe if you give, you'll always receive more. And you've got to be sort of self-secure in order to have that confidence in the type of work that you're doing. By no means, I think this podcast is massive at all. It's just done as it is. I'm gonna have to take it a little bit serious because of some of the momentum that's gained from it. But that doesn't take away from somebody else who I might need advice from, or they might need advice from me. But supporting each other on ventures is massive. Because some of your biggest supporters you've never met as well. And I do get a lot of messages from that, saying how they listen to the podcast when they're picking the kids up on their way to school, or when they're a particular guest, they don't listen to every episode, but this one was good and that one, and it does make you feel nice as well at the same time that you're not just doing it for yourself, other people are listening in as well. So yeah, support when you can and don't be a hater. What else have we got? The return of Man United and the demise of Liverpool FC. I wish that was the case at this moment. It is really difficult to being a United fan at the moment. I think mentally we are getting battered from pillar to post. I don't think there's another day that goes past where you're thinking, oh, let's just have a couple of days with no headache or without a new controversy breaking out. We have Mason Greenwood, the takeover, um, Anthony, Sancho, obviously not winning games is such a big thing. The scrutiny on the new signings, the injuries around it as well. And then, people are starting to think, oh, always going back to the same excuses, but it's not an excuse. Things that go wrong in a club come from the top, that mentality. If you've been bleeding something dry, it affects your decision making, it affects communication in a workplace as well. So I'm hoping it turns around. I'm not optimistic over the next sort of few games as well. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But you have to kind of back the manager at this point. And Liverpool, to be honest, I haven't paid any attention in terms of what they're doing. I think they're doing all right. But yeah, I don't really kind of associate myself with kind of lower teams to understand what they're doing. But yeah, and just to say, this is one of the most popular questions that came out was around the football. So I will be doing something more football related and a separate playlist coming up, but I don't know when that's going to be. Getting back into the gym and shredding the SARG dead. I don't know whether that's a slight dig at me in that, but I've been trying to go to the gym, but I don't tend to have SARG. I've kind of noticed there's been quite a lot of health related questions here, so that's probably a good thing where people are really interested in getting back into shape. So, getting back into the gym, I think it's always the first session, which is the hardest one as well. If you got people to kind of motivate you, that was always a good thing. I got that stupid thing where if I go to the gym, I'm just doing the same exercises at the same time or the same machines, proper Desi, no structure within it. So I think I need to kind of improve on that and look after my health a little bit more in the next year. After my birthday, I've got it in my head. So let's move around it. Let's have a look at this one. Okay. Yeah, the last one's a little bit more sensitive, to be honest, which is around about Sikh politics. At the time of recording this, there's just been the statement that's come out from Justin Trudeau, and India have put out their statements at the same time. I think people are kind of clever enough and understand that there's loads of things at play here, and it'll be kind of naive at this point in terms of saying to know where this story is where it's gonna evolve to. So I'd rather kind of hold that back really and just get somebody else on with me for me to kind of have that discussion in the respect and the detail that it deserves. But I think everyone's kind of smart enough to know how some of the games are being played online and to kind of use that brain and use that gyan in terms of how to move forward. So I ain't gonna do it a disservice at this point, but I'm just gonna leave that there at this point in time. Yeah, so that's it really. Let me know what you think about the this new format really of new format of looking at the jump off of where you send in your questions and I kind of answer it in that way. If you think it's decent, then let me know and I'll kind of update it. But just a few things to make you guys aware of what I'm doing. Making a slow progress towards having more in-house guests, so not just doing it online, but just a little bit easier with having people in. And then the second one is that I'm going to be launching a project very soon, in the next couple of weeks around Bhandwagon, and it's a very special project. And I'll be asking I'll be putting out information how you guys can get involved as well, and hopefully you support that. I'm always going to try and do different initiatives around it, around the podcast as well. So it's not just strictly like this. And I've got a few good, interesting podcasts coming up. with a few people and hope making the way towards the 100th episode. So I really appreciate your help and support. If you could like, subscribe, share. I've started to do all of that because it does help the algorithm. It does help to get this information out. It does help to support the channel and the program. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to well done to all the other podcasters who are doing brilliant in their spaces and catch their stuff as well at the same time. Peace out. Cheers.